Hello, everyone. This is AI 8 by Strategy series, and I'm Ganna Pogrebna, and I'm here with Graham Kenny. Hi, Graham.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, good. So today we're talking about a topic that I'm really passionate about. So this is basically the meaning of expertise in the current environment. So what is expertise? How did it evolve with the availability of AI tools? And in academic environment, I see a lot of struggle with this because we are constantly thinking how to design good assignments for students so they don't use LLMs that much. But we also see that in business, right? So we know from stats that 78% of people bring their own AI to work, right? 60% of people actually lie about the fact that they're using AI. So they use AI, but they don't admit to it. And it's actually worse in women. Apparently, new research shows that women less likely to admit that they're using AI because they are worried about, being perceived.
Looking competent.
Being perceived as incompetent. And so we have all these issues, and I'm sure you are very active on LinkedIn like I am, and we see a lot of this AI slop on LinkedIn. So I always say that we need to invent like a emoji for LinkedIn saying that's AI slop. Like I don't want to.
It's hard to pick though. It's a bit hard to pick.
No, I think that it's not this, it's that, like these phrases that you can pick up that are definitely AI. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you about expertise. And again, Graham has written 3 HBR articles on very close to topics. So how, we have one, how, how we can... you have how 3 companies are using AI to mimic expert judgment. Don't let AI destroy the skills that make your company competitive, which is something we co-wrote. And another one on how CEOs are using generative AI for strategic planning. So we have some articles that Graham has worked on, and there will be links to his articles and some more articles in the description to this video. And as usual, please like and subscribe. That's very important on YouTube. And it's important for us as well because we want to understand whether it's worthwhile.
Okay. Yeah, and by the way, all those articles were co-authored. They weren't solo efforts. So,
yes, definitely.
Thanks to the co-authors too.
Brilliant. Okay, so we agreed that this time Graham is going to ask me some questions first on expertise. But generally, I think that this is a very important topic, right? So previously we had this problem that the expertise evolved from people who kind of had education to people who had more Instagram followers, right? So they somehow became experts and tried to have opinions on things that they don't necessarily were professionals in. But now there's an extra layer. There is also AI. And as we established before, AI can hallucinate. Well, I hate the word hallucination. I think the errors, right? The AI can make LLMs in particular can make errors when they're writing something. So how do we deal with the fact that everyone sounds like an expert but not necessarily be, right?
Well, I want to ask you a question first. Over 30 years ago, I wrote an article in the Journal of General Management when I was a professor in Canada. With a research assistant master's student. And the article was about the use of expert systems in organisational decision-making. And your use of the term expert there triggered that in my mind. Now, I then moved out of academia for 30 years and have remained out of it ever since. And I often wondered whatever happened to expert systems until I went back into this area in 2021. And I found the answer. It was abandoned as an approach, not totally, but in terms of its application in business. And I've often wondered why. I think I know the answer. But can you tell me why expert systems is now not the dominant way to go, and large language models, which is probabilistic, is now seen as the future?
Right. So previously, I guess we had this one channel of truth in a sense, right? So we had experts, and now we don't have this channel anymore.
Right.
And I think it's due to fluency, like the way I see it. So the large language models are extremely articulate, right? They're saying something, and it could be, pardon my French, bullshit, right? But it could be really convincing in the way they talk about it, right? And so I think because we as society evolved to look for this like really articulate arguments, I think we think that if it's presented better, I guess, put in better words, sounds like truth, we accept it more. We have accepted more. So I guess that's probably what's going on from my perspective. But yeah, I mean, I personally, I used to have really strong opinions about behavioral science. So I'm a decision theorist by training, and in behavioral science, we had a huge problem in the start of 2000s and 2010s. So it basically was that a lot of people who were in marketing or UX, they were positioning themselves as behavioral scientists, but they didn't really have the expertise. And there was this whole debate about who is the expert, why people who do not have degrees in behavioral science say that they're behavioral scientists. So I think this is kind of an extra layer now with automation, because now the problem is that, if you had, for example, a marketing person talking about behavioral science who's not really an expert, you can tell that. You could tell that before. You could say, oh, they're not using the literature right. They're not citing the facts correctly. They're not doing this and this and this. Yeah. But now we have large language models who articulate beautifully, right? So it's very difficult to say, that argument is not correct, unless we have a really hallucinated outcome.
I understood that this idea of the reason expert systems were abandoned, not abandoned totally because it's used in industrial applications, right, is it's hard to keep it updated. So, for example, the sort of model that I had in mind is if you go to a GP, they take certain readings as an expert approach. Okay, so they do temperature, they do blood pressure, whatever, a whole series of readings. And then based on that analysis, we'll say, I think you need an X-ray, or I think you need to go to somewhere else. So the idea of an expert system was, if I can get that down in some way, then I can have someone that's inexpert apply that algorithm to then say, I'm coming in as a patient. I don't need to have that level of expertise. But for some reason that, as I said, I think it was difficult to keep those models up to date.
Yeah.
And then we moved on. So then there's this split. And reading that book, The Empire of AI, which said that at one stage they were running in parallel, and then what happened was the large language model took off and this one sort of plateaued. Seems to be the way it's gone. So then we've got the question of, can a large language model be an expert if it's not based on an expert?
Right.
What do you think?
I personally think not. Well, I hope so anyway. But it gradually becomes really, for some people, indispensable, right? So they consult large language model for everything. I was talking actually to an editor the other day, and he told me that so he has a young child, just newborn, right? And his wife goes to ChatGPT for everything, on advice on the child. And when he tries to contradict it, he says, that just doesn't sound right. She says, but this is what the tool says. And I think in that sense, it's really dangerous. And we see that a lot. In 2025, there was a huge change from people using large language models as some sort of Google, they would go and ask something. Yeah. Now they're using these tools as personal assistant, personal mental health advisor. And we have lots of problems with that, right? So I think personally, like I hope that they cannot really replace, but because they are so articulate and so great with words, because they have all the words in the world at their disposal. So I think the danger is that there are some really great professionals who are not heard because there is all this white noise, around with the large language models talking to people.
If you think about modeling an expert, and this is what we're talking about here, an expert is someone that on a distribution, think of a normal distribution, for example, they're sitting on the right-hand side. In other words, they're outliers in their industry. They're so good at what they do. They can be surgeons, they can be engineers analysing something or whatever. We really need to know how they do it. So they're on the outskirts of the distribution.
That's right.
A large language model goes to the middle of that distribution.
Yes. To the mean, I would say.
To the mean, right. That's right. So in other words, I'm never going to know what that expert does because the large language model pushes me back this way based on what's available. So they're quite contradictory in their approach.
Yeah, that's right. And also I think we need to remember that the whole value of an expert, it needs to tell you what's coming up, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So what I want to know, it's like always, when we talk about customer service, UX, many companies are like, oh, like this is what the competition is doing, so that's what we're going to do. And I'm always like, well, don't tell me what's now. I want to understand what your customers want to buy tomorrow. Yeah. So you can produce a product that will be, really interesting for them, like or valuable for them. So yeah, I think that this is something that very rarely gets it cannot be modeled, right? Because model is always working with historical data, working with giving you the average answer. So it's like, if you say to it, the customer is always, it will tell you right.
Yeah.
And it's not because the customer is always right as the correct phrase. It's just the most commonly used phrase.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with insight. So I think that this is the key, really. Insight, to my mind, is always human. But some people disagree with me. Like I was at a conference once where there was a very reputable businessman who said, no, these models can do insight. And I disagree. I think insight is really something new and something really human.
Yeah.
And operational efficiency is what what these models can provide.
If you've got quantitative data, you can obviously project into the future, assuming the past is an accurate reflection of the future.
Right.
That's an assumption in itself. And so you can forecast, I think this is what's going to happen to computer sales or car sales or sales of electric vehicles, whatever it might be. But a large language model is not going to do that. But I think that's an important thing. I think most people that talk about AI in business and in the general public are not aware of these distinctions. And I think it's leading a lot of people to think that large language models are experts.
Right.
Anyhow, let's get on to the questions. When people say AI can mimic expert judgment, which is what we've been just talking about, what is the system actually doing?
Oh, yeah. So I think we've talked through it already. So it regresses to the mean, right?
Yeah.
It just looks at what's the So I think it's like I have this favorite film. It's called Margin Call. And it's about the 2009 crisis that we had on Wall Street, and with all the mortgages causing the extra volatility to the mortgage market, and we had a huge financial crash. Right? So Lehman Brothers were like one of the companies that sort of disappeared as a result. But anyway. So that in that film there is a CEO, and he says that, do you know why I'm getting the big buck? Well, I'm getting the big buck here because there is music, right? There is this noise, and everyone is trying to play like Mahler, like average music. But my job is to figure out what is music going to do in 5, 10, 20 years time, right? So. And that's to me is insight. But what the speaking in that language, what the large language model is doing is like just channeling that music to you. What is the average? What is the average music that is out there? Is playing, right? but it's not going to give you anything extra, anything that like 5-10 years time. It will give you, like, if you ask it, what will the market do? It will answer that question, but it will never give you like the next Amazon or the next Nvidia, right? So it's just going to give you the safe option. So what it does, it basically just gives you the most probable answer.
And Spotify is doing this already. Inventing music by an unknown artist coming out of Stockholm. That is Google, very popular because it's been amalgamation of what's gone before.
But also like Google, Google Gemini has a music instance.
Yes.
I do use it myself.
That's where you can compose your own music.
Yes. I think that it's you basically can write like one line and it will give you a 2.5 minute song. Which is again going to be like quite average. It's not going to be. I'm never satisfied, by the way, with what it gives me. But can I say that it's on topic? It's on topic, and it's a piece of music. So.
Oh, that's good. So, where are AI systems generally useful in supporting expert decisions, and where do they create false confidence?
I think I will start with false confidence. I think because it's fluent and it's, like I see this in student assessments, right? So sometimes the report is written really well and you have references in right places, but when you go to references, the references are wrong or do not exist. Right. So, but I have to say that that's getting better. Like I noticed that the tools are getting better. So there are certain ways in how I can still spot that people are sort of using artificial intelligence or like large language models in particular because they write in certain ways. There are certain phrases. It's not this, it's that, or here's the thing, right? That's what the models often do. So like these types of like things in language I can spot. But I think so there's definitely a lot of problems with the way the hallucinations work. But at the same time, I think my biggest problem with where the systems get it wrong for experts is that you sound just like any other guy. Right? Everyone sounds the same. There is no uniqueness in this in this thing. So I always ask people to do a simple experiment. Go to any AI assistant you have, doesn't matter, and ask very simple. Put a line in. Guess a number between 0 and 10. And if you get a 7, you guys go to your AI assistant, guess a number between 0 and 10. And if you get a 7, leave us a comment. And I bet the majority of people get a 7. And that's because that's the most probable answer from any, human. If you ask a human.
That's right.
So that's what they say. But that's not necessarily what you want, right? What you want to say as an expert. So it kind of gives you this average. So that's the problem really is that, it kind of provides this really confident, but like really... confidently wrong answer, not necessarily what you need. But where it's useful, look, I think it's really useful. So we talked about in the previous episode that really it helps you to think outside the box. It helps you ask better questions. So it's a creativity tool, right? We've talked about it multiple times that, in other forums that, people expect precision. But really what they should expect is creativity, right? What didn't I think about? And, I use it, I call this method, I call it a smart contrarian. Like, use it as a smart contrarian. Like, give it something, and instead of just asking for, it's different from asking for feedback, right? Which is, most people are like uploading something to a large language model and they say, what do you think? It's not like that. You need to be more structured to say, give me contradictory argument of why that might be wrong, right? Give me give me another perspective on what I'm saying here. Is there a counter argument? And that makes you think in multiple directions and makes you think broader than, maybe the opinion that you had. So I think it makes you kind of leveled up. And the third advantage, I think, really democratization of language. Because, someone who is from Ukraine like myself could sound really good for someone in the United States, where previously they probably could tell that, this is an author that is not a native English speaker.
But your English writing's fantastic.
Yeah, but it's
does that mean
when
you're
I
using
started.
AI?
No. When I learned English for many years. Many years.
Your writing is amazing.
Thank you. From school, right? From school, I was writing. I had English 6 days a week at school. Right. 6 days a week, right? A lot of it was writing. So I had 4 hours every single day at school. 2 of them were speaking and 2 of them were writing. And writing and writing. But even then, when I went to university, the majority of professors were like, articles are in the wrong places. Like you're not making the argument the right way. And that was good feedback, right? It took many years. But now anyone like from China, Ukraine, they can go and create a perfect text with good idea. If you have good ideas, you can really, that democratizes. So I think that levels up the field a little bit.
So what about the productivity issue? I saw an article the other day there in the Harvard Business Review, someone saying, the problem now for managers is their staff are too productive.
Yeah, but
I found it interesting because it means now they're so productive. I've got all these things coming at me, all these ideas coming at me, and I've got to deal with these ideas all the time.
Yeah.
So they're using large language models to come with ideas which they then feed up the organisation. The managers are saying, I can't cope with all this volume.
Yeah.
Is that productivity?
I think that's so. There are things that we need to consider here. First, when the large language model is producing something for you, you need to check it.
Right.
That takes time. So that actually maybe is creating the reverse effect. Like you are productive in producing the text, but then you're checking. Yeah. It's a little bit like that argument that I want the AI to do my laundry, and other things rather than, do interesting things while I'll do the laundry. So that we're still doing the laundry ourselves.
Yeah.
While AI is doing the interesting stuff, right? So the large language models are doing the interesting stuff. So there's one problem that I don't think that it makes you hugely productive if it's some sort of, if it's a post on LinkedIn, maybe you're not that invested and you can produce lots of them and you don't really mind. But if you're producing a text that will be read by, I don't know, the parliament somewhere, right? You will be really checking it multiple times. So you're not that productive. And second problem, like you said, it's really causing burnout because people now can shoot multiple, things at you. And as a manager, you get more, so you actually work more. And I noticed from my own perspective, I work a lot more with these systems around because I can try things, I can experiment, right? I can also produce these minimum viable products very quickly. But then I need to sift through all of this, potentially rubbish. Some of it will be rubbish, right? So to actually figure out what is actually valuable here for me to say in the classroom or to the business people or
I saw something the other day where they said, I don't know, might have been on LinkedIn, that it was the end of the university essay. It's finished. You can't do it anymore. You can't do an essay anymore because, the students are using Claude or something and, we don't know where it begins and ends. So we've got to now get them back in the classroom with a pen and paper to do the essay or to answer the questions because otherwise we don't know what is the machine or the person.
Yeah, I'm really an optimist there, so I don't think it's...
you don't want to go backwards?
Yeah, so I think that people will always definitely cheat if they have an opportunity, right? But on the other hand, my assessments, I do have written assessments that people do, but I think it's very difficult to do them. Just plug it into Claude and write everything and get a good mark, because you really need to. I always want them to evaluate how they used AI through. So that's part of the assessment. And second thing is, it's really difficult because I asked them to compare different. Like, for example, this is the cybersecurity incident without AI as it happened historically. What would have happened with AI? You can't just tell the model to do it, because it will write you something, but it will not be correct. Like it needs to. You need to have a lot of orchestration. So I think that even if my students are generating initial drafts, they need to spend a lot of time working on them. So I'm a little bit like, I'm not as skeptical as other professors. So I think really it depends on how you structure your assignment.
You might actually write it yourself first and then check it against, say, ChatGPT to see if I've missed anything. What do you think about that?
Well, that would be actually ideal situation when you wrote everything yourself and just checked the language, So I don't really want to
an idea that I might have missed.
Yeah, so I don't want to kind of give a lower mark to a person because they're not a native English speaker and they can't articulate, right? But ideas, yeah. I mean, did you think about that? This could have been the potential vectors of how you could have answered that question. I think that's a good exercise as well, and it makes you think in terms of So it's always those of you guys who read Danny Kahneman's book Thinking Fast and Slow. So there are two types of thinking, right? The first type is, when you use it 95% of the time, is fast thinking. So basically what we do is we're like, okay, well, we're driving to work, like we're not thinking about it, we're doing it like almost mechanically, right? It's instinctive, it's quick. And the other type of thinking is logical, it's very, involved. So this is a slow thinking. We use it only 5% of the time, and 95% of the time we're using this fast thinking. So the idea of you using AI to train you better is to drag yourself out of this, because the system 1 thinking, right, the fast thinking, and system 2 thinking is a slow thinking. So large language models are basically that exaggerated system 1. They make you without thinking accept something. But if you drag yourself out of that mindset and you're trying to go away from system 1 into system 2, make this system slow you down. Make a large language model slow you down, question you, make you think more about the problem. Then actually you are gaining that expertise that we're talking about. Now I have questions for you.
No, I haven't finished my questions.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
What should leaders understand about model limitations before relying on AI-generated advice?
All right. So I think that many leaders or C-suite in any case, they believe that they are talking to the machine when they're talking to large language models. I think the first problem is they're using it as Google. They just type anything and they expect an answer, correct answer, right?
Yeah.
That's wrong. So we've established that. So you need to use it as a creativity.
So in other words, going into Google and finding original sources.
Right, exactly. So the second problem is that they believe that they're having an actual conversation. But you need to understand that it doesn't have context. It doesn't understand what it tells you. And that's why it's like you said before, it's like this useful assistant who can be completely wrong, right? So you need to constantly check the thinking there and use it as an assistant. And basically, the issue is that many people think that it's some sort of smart system that updates when you talk to it. It doesn't update. And some people don't believe me when I say that because, but it's answering so well and all of it. I'm going to give you a different example. So look at not the models that use text where they're really, versatile and all of that. Look at the images, anything that has to do with computer vision. earlier this year, we had a journal article coming out of Italian Vogue, where we had Ariana Grande with 6 fingers on the page. And that's an example that large language or generative model does not know that people have 5 fingers. It's, can generate 6 fingers, 3 hands, 4 legs. It's the same with text. It's just because it sounds all right, it doesn't mean that it understands what's going on. Yeah, so that's the danger.
Well, you said go to Google there. The thing is now, when you go to Google, it gives you an AI summary anyhow.
That's right. Yeah.
So now we're not really getting beyond that, a lot of people, in terms of looking at original sources. So if you go from ChatGPT over to Google to check and you only go to the Google summary, which is coming out of their system,
Gemini.
Gemini, which is not connected to ChatGPT, correct?
Yeah, so they have the AI answer, which is connected to Gemini, which is their equivalent of ChatGPT, of a large language model. Yeah, but then they also have the pure search, but I just want to say to people that if you think that the way these options are ranked have nothing to do with machine learning or artificial intelligence, think again. We had recently I have a very funny example. So we wrote a journal paper, submitted it to Science Journal, and we used a machine learning model. It was a neural network-based model. And the referee went like, oh, but when and it was for literature search. We use it for literature search. And the referee said, oh, but if I go to Google, I make all my own selection choices about which papers to pick.
Okay.
But this is some sort of artificial thing that you've created. And my answer to that was, well, when you go to Google search, there are at least 100 of different AI models that work in the background. So you think that you're choosing something, but unless you physically go to the library, pull out a book, and get a quote out of there, you're not choosing anything anymore.
So in other words, putting aside the summary, and you look at all the sources down here, they're already ranked with an algorithm.
With an algorithm, that's right.
Would advertising have anything to do with it?
No, not actually. Actually, advertisement is not a part of that. So, for example, let me just explain. So we're now on YouTube, right? So YouTube, one of the things, there are many things that algorithm does, but one of the things is frequency. So our podcast will never be as popular as some teenager who does wake up 3 times a day and puts it on YouTube simply because they do it 3 times a day, and we're doing this.
I think there might be another reason.
Yeah, every once in a while. So that's basically the whole point of it.
Maybe we should have that as inserted into our podcast.
Yeah.
Makeup.
Yeah, that's it. Over my dead body, but yeah. Great idea. Okay, I think we talked quite a while. Maybe I will ask you. Yeah, just wanted to kind of ask you maybe more about the origins of these whole systems. So, from the strategy, because we're talking about business strategy, right? So, why do we need these experts' judgments anyway for strategy? What is the role? Why do you need experts? Maybe we don't need them. I don't know.
You need them.
Okay.
And you need them because you're looking for insight. And I love that word, insight. I think insight, it's one of those words I just think cuts through. Instead of having an average idea about something, you can sit around a table and someone will say something and think, I've never heard that expressed that way. That's such a aha moment. And that's the type of thing we're looking for. Now, how do you get that as an executive? Often executive teams are removed from the market. The customers, down here, and they're sitting up there in their ivory towers. So insight can be, okay, so we've got a technology that can do this. Now that's something that might come from the IT people. But the other insight is what you find in the marketplace, where a customer says, I don't know why you haven't done this. How come you don't do that?
Right.
This would be a great idea if you tried that. That competitor does this and you don't do that. I had someone the other day who went to a dentist, and she told me it was really amazing because the next day they rang me up to ask me how I was going. Now, that's a competitive advantage over a normal dentist.
Right.
Now, a dentist must have thought, now this is a good idea. Probably a patient said, no one ever called me about whether I'm still alive. You know, probably had a tooth taken out, I could be dead. But, you know, that's where customers are carrying insights with them all the time. And they're asking questions like, as I said before, how come they don't do this? Why couldn't they do this? And that's the customer suggesting strategy. And you've got to tap into that if you're going to remain ahead of the curve.
Right. So what do you think, like when...
So expertise, the experts are not necessarily in the executive team. They're out there at the customer base.
Brilliant. So what do you think is the main danger of outsourcing to, like when some of that expert judgment is outsourced to large language model?
It's a really big danger. You get this separation. I've written about this before. It's about story listening.
Right.
So you've got to listen to the stories of people, and then when you hear their stories, you get those aha moments. Mm-hmm. And a story is a connection between incidents that run through, you know, I had this problem, I went to the dentist, I came home and I did this, or whatever it might be. I had bought this product and then it broke down and then I couldn't contact anyone. No one wanted to know me about getting it fixed, whereas others would fall over themselves. Those stories, which are the sequence of events, are so important. Okay, so if I don't hear those stories as an executive, I don't get the insight. And when you look at some firms as to why they do well, it's often because the founder is the CEO. Mm-hmm. And the founder worked at that very bottom level to build the organisation, and now sitting at the top, he knows how those customers are feeling. Whereas someone that's come from an MBA and walked in at level 2 in an organisation never gets to know what it's like to be a customer.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and obviously, like we also talked about the fact that, you know, they're kind of, these systems are like incidental liars and incidental truth tellers, right? So you can't really rely on the information.
That's not going to... So we can get this data from AI systems, whether they be analytical or generative, but it's not going to replace that human contact. So there's always going to be that limitation of just two of us talking today. I mean, most of this hasn't been planned.
Right.
But what you say in a sentence triggers something in my mind, which triggers something in your mind.
Yes.
Now, you can't program that.
That's right. Well, I'm also one of those people who, you know, like when you call a large company like a bank and they put you on hold, and I would push whatever button there is to get to a human being. I don't care about, you know.
I think we're all that way.
No, not all. But for example, my sister, she's like 7 years younger. She grew up with, like, you know, talking to machines, so she's okay talking to a machine. But I completely agree with you.
It's not talking to a machine. It's actually waiting for 25 minutes to even talk to anyone.
Yes.
I mean, we're all like that.
Yeah.
We don't want to sit there listening to music.
Yeah, that's true. So how about so when the leaders are trying to make a decision about what they could outsource, I know we have a lot of conversations about that. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Like, so when you decide what is like safe to outsource to a large language model or automation, and what I should keep, like how would they decide? Like, what are the key criteria, do you think, that they should?
I think for, you know, processes that are routine, and I think we've got routine and non-routine events. So something that's routine, like manufacturing or processing data and so on, that's fine to use a machine. What worries me, and I think it's going to be a worry for a lot of organisations, is people will start to rely on AI for the sort of things that they need to have personal experience of. Mm-hmm. And I was just talking about that a minute ago. So we'll invent more and more ways to distance the executive team from the customers, from the employees, from the suppliers, from the community and so on. And they think they've got it all together, but they haven't got it all together. And that's my big worry.
All right. Okay, with that, you probably guys wondering why we have chilies here. That's for me, because we have a game, and this
chilies.
is a game where I might eat chilies.
Oh my God.
And for those of you who are watching us, I really hate chilies, so I've got a glass of milk, okay, because I don't think I can eat them all. But yeah, like I think the point of the game is it's agree or eat a chili game, right?
Yeah.
And Graham is going to read me some statements.
Yeah.
And I have either to agree with the statement or eat a chili. And I'm just hoping that I'm not going to eat 10 chilies.
I'm thinking this could be our last episode. Now, here's my statement.
Yeah.
Meta is the most ethical company in AI.
No, sorry. I'm going to go for it.
These things are huge. Are you really going to do this?
Yeah. Yeah, look, no offense to some people who work at Meta. I think they have some people who are very good, but yeah, like Meta is an ethical organization.
Well, it did say most ethical, so that's right at the top.
The most ethical, definitely not.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Righto, okay. If I had...
Yeah.
Have you swallowed that?
Yeah.
Good luck this afternoon. That's all I can say. CEOs should trust AI more than the executive teams.
It depends on the executive team. So I think.
Okay. So you're not eating a chili now.
I think.
You're just having more milk.
I think that's. No, let me say that one was better than Meta.
If you're neutral, you just have milk, no chilies. All right.
Well, the thing is, like, it's really. Yeah, I think that you're right. Like, human insight is better, but I did see in my lifetime CEOs who do trust AI a lot more than the executive team for some reason. Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is, I suppose I don't answer these questions. You do. If an AI model gives better advice, than a human expert, the human expert should be removed from the decision.
Oh no, sorry.
God.
Okay, so
I don't think we'll get to 10 on these.
Here's the thing. Like, I think you always need a human. I think that's something that needs to happen all the time. And yeah, like, I really hate this human-centered and human in the loop. Like, this doesn't make sense to me, because if there is no human, I don't want to know about it.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Oh, you can't eat more than those, can you? Okay.
It's a lot. Hang on a second.
Oh, my God. Maybe there should have been sugar cubes.
We have some hot sauce for coming up.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think I can do 10.
You can't do 10. You'll be in hospital.
Yeah. Let's do one more.
Let me find one here. Companies should be allowed to replace expensive strategists with AI strategy tools.
Yes, I think that could work. That could work.
Okay.
I think that some, especially if you have like narrow area that is well defined.
Yeah.
You could probably train a good large language model or a machine learning model, for that matter. That could actually be quite useful, instead of spending millions and millions and millions on someone who will use a large language model anyway to produce an advice.
We've seen that. And we'll just come to this one. This is quite interesting. Human judgment is overrated. Most leaders are just confidently biased.
That's a good one. Are they? I think, like, first of all, I think that we all have biases. So I've done a lot of work on biases.
Yeah.
So I'd say that most of us are biased, and most of us are biased in an unconscious way. So I would agree with the second part of that statement. Like, I don't agree with the first part of the statement.
Well, don't have
I'm not eating half a chili for that.
No chilies, not half a chili. We get another one here.
Okay.
AI will make leadership more objective.
I think it will make, it can, like I just say, it will. I don't know about it will, but it can. For the reasons that we discussed, that it could give you more perspectives on the same problem, right? And it's really becoming like, if you like I said before, if you use it more as a system tool, let's just say we have all these fantastic CEOs and C-suite who are using AIs, who are using large language models to actually get a contrarian perspective on what they're doing, then it could be actually quite positive. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure they're using them that way though.
No. If AI improves performance, employees do not need to understand how it works.
No, I disagree with that. So
let's just, can I dig into that a bit before we go to hospital? So do not need to know how it works. Are we talking then about the understanding of how going to the mean is an issue, whereas what people don't understand is you're not going to get something that's exceptional. So people go in there, for example, you go in there for personal advice, you're not going to get, in my particular case, this is what you should do. You're going to get, on average, someone that's applying for a job like that should do X. If they don't understand that difference, then they're always looking for the exceptional and they're not going to find it.
Look, let me just say, I probably can shirk out of eating this because, like, what I was just thinking is, like, I don't, like, even as a developer, I don't always know how the model works, right? Some models are black boxes. But I think what's important is not to know how the model works, but know the limitations of this model, like where can it fail?
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, you don't need to know, and it's probably fine. So you don't need to know all the bits and pieces of how something works. Like, I take planes all the time. I have not the first clue about how plane can take off, right? So
you probably do, but.
Well, not like in detail, not like I don't know like the whole thing. I'm not an engineer, but yeah, like I think that's so I think that works as long as you know the limitations of where you shouldn't be using them. Yeah.
I hope in.
Did I survive the game?
I hope a lot of
not yet.
Corporate training is really explaining the basics and not skipping over it and just sailing straight into AI and how you use it. But AI and its limitations should be the first slide,
Yeah, but I think what we see probably, I don't know, like on your end, Graham, but what I see is usually, how to like use AI for productivity. Like there's
that type of thing. And they haven't really covered.
Yeah. How it works, like
how
what it
works
does.
At a tech, at a general level, yeah. Now, one more. If customers cannot tell whether they are talking to a human or AI, disclosure does not matter.
Oh, disclosure matters all the time.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so. Because, I think that's, first of all, I'm a great believer that people will evolve to know that they're talking to a machine.
Right.
Like, I remember back in the day when Google created the first this like answering machine assistants, like when you could call like a hairdresser and it was a machine. People like they had tests, and test subjects couldn't tell the difference between a human and a machine. But I think that with experience, like as a behavioral scientist, I can tell you that with experience we will be able to tell, even if there is a versatile voice and it really customized and everything, we will be able to ask the question eventually that is a random question that machine would go like, I'm not programmed or whatever, I don't know how to answer that question. Whereas the human would at least make an attempt. But I think you need to disclose because the customer, I think it's legally you have to do it, but anyway, the customer needs to understand that they're talking to someone who cannot, who is not responsible for what it tells you, right? Because as a human, we are like responsible. Yeah, we're always responsible for it. This is the reason why in radiology we still have, doctors who, get
post the other day there about we won't need them anymore, which didn't turn out to be the case. We still have radiologists.
Yeah. So we have radiologists. Well, not only because the machines, providing diagnosis, but you need to confirm that. But also, as we know from the current research, is like an idiot with AI is still an idiot, right? So you have those 140 doctors that they observed in recent research, and they were radiologists, and some of them. So what that paper found is that it's good doctors become better using AI, and bad doctors become worse. Yeah. So what the worst doctors are doing, they're using this as system one. They get the diagnosis and they're like, that looks about right. So that's it. That's cancer, right? Yeah. And the good doctor goes like, I can see the argument, but give me more reasons. Yeah. Let's look at this fraction of the scan. What does that tell you? So, and it kind of like evolves from there.
That's that expertise and insight again.
Yeah, so do I eat a chili or
not? No, you're right. Okay. That's good. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So, great. So we talked a lot about expertise. In my mind, I think it's clearer why we need experts. Like, I think you explained that really, really well, that you really need that insight, that really is thinking that is not average thinking, and gives you kind of new ideas, and that's what moves the organizations forward. And as always, like, is there any like final thing, final piece of advice, a final thought that you want to tell everyone who's watching?
Don't eat chilies. Like that, unless you're a masochist.
Great. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I can't say I enjoyed eating chilies, but I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, Graham.
Thank you. Thanks very much.